Could Utah actually become a swing state? More and more people are thinking that really could happen. The great state of Utah could become a state that everybody worries about. Now, we're not great in girth and size and in our, clout necessarily when it comes to the Electoral College votes, but the fact is, this could be one of those elections where everybody's scrambling for everything, and they're counting on a red state staying red, a blue state staying blue, or being able to slightly sway one. Well, could Utah be one of those swing states? More and more people, because of the Trump factor, basically, are saying, yeah, Utah could be. Remember, Trump only got 14% of the vote. He came in third behind Cruz and Kasich. We have the director of the Hinckley Institute of Politics joining us on the line right now, Jason Perry. And Jason, thanks for joining us this morning. Do you think we could be one of those states that everybody's kind of holding their breath over?
Well, yes, the answer is that we are certainly in play. There's a lot of talk about whether or not we are a swing state. There certainly is a lot of uncertainty right now, and whether we're not an actual swing state, I can tell you we certainly are in play by the various parties for reasons you've identified really well so far. They want Utah, but for different reasons.
I thought it was interesting how many people even came to play this time, not just to cash checks, but came to play during our primary. That was impressive.
It really was. We have been and remain extremely relevant on the national scene. You do often see these candidates come because they're interested in the fundraising effort and the volunteerism that happens right here. But you look what happened there kind of in that presidential preference through our caucuses, and you even look at who's going to be coming to the state over the next couple of weeks, and they are spending time in Utah, and it's a deliberate effort to come and get to the Utah voters. We are relevant. And the Democrats are certainly trying to make a big play, get all of those huge numbers of Bernie Sanders fans that exist in the state of Utah. And the Republicans, they do not want to have that narrative out there that Utah is a state that they could lose.
I had a friend who was back at the convention, and I didn't, this was just told to me off the record, off the cuff, so I won't attribute name and everything, but he said that some very tight people within the Donald Trump camp, they do not want to lose Utah. They were shocked at their 14%. They recognize that Utah has been one of the reddest of the red states, and they see it as something that could maybe not cost them the election, but it would be very embarrassing to leave Utah basically in the dust, and if it were to actually go blue.
That is so true. It's been 52 years since the state of Utah went blue, and that is not a thing that the Republicans want to have happen at all. Even having this dialogue right now is making them concerned and making them want to spend more time here, because it's whether or not we're going to have a substantial impact on the election is something we can discuss. But that narrative right there is something no one wants to have out there.
There's a very interesting article that was in the Deseret News, and it talked about the notable Utahns that are not supporting Donald Trump and either will be writing somebody in or are currently considering a third-party candidacy. And at the very end of this article, they quote Utah Democratic Party Chairman Peter Caroon, who said, quote, "I think the Republicans are in a bad place this year. Donald Trump does not reflect Utahns or Utah values, and it could affect them up and down the ticket. He's a crude, crass loudmouth. Utahns are a classier bunch for sure." Normally you might just say, well, that's just party rhetoric, but I've heard those same words come out of the mouths of very prominent Republicans and even Republicans in leadership positions.
Well, I have too. I continue to hear that. The truth is kind of the temperament and the approach does matter in the state of Utah particularly. That's why I think for the Donald Trump camp, kind of just to counter, it's not even really counter, but to go along with what Peter Caroon was saying right there, is maybe the big goal for Donald Trump is not saying, I can come to Utah and win everyone over. What he needs to come to Utah and say is, I realize that I am not your favorite candidate right now, but the alternative is just really so bad that you need to come to my camp. And you'll see people maybe coming to the state of Utah to kind of be a surrogate for him that Utahns feel better about. Certainly people that are governor and those notable leaders would feel good about. But Utahns from the beginning have not come to Donald Trump's defense.
Yeah, boy, no kidding. No kidding. And then, as you alluded to, Jason, on the other side, wow, Hillary Clinton just got trounced in this state. And there weren't three people who were in play like we had with Kasich and Cruz and Trump. It was Bernie or Hillary, and she barely eked out close to 20%.
That is just so telling. In a state like ours, where you have some 14,000 people coming to a Bernie Sanders rally, is just really telling about how they feel about her as well. I mean, this is just an equally bad story for both sides right now, is what makes this so interesting. That's why I think you'll see the Democrats coming here trying to capture as many of those kind of Bernie Sanders fans as they can, and that's probably the big sign of success for them. Realizing, even though we're so reliable red, there's still just under 600,000 unaffiliated voters here in the state of Utah, and some of them are up for grabs.
Yeah. Jason, I know you've got to run into a meeting here in about a minute, but over the it's been described in several articles that I've read as the worst 72 hours for any candidate running for the presidency in modern time, referring to what Donald Trump has said and has gone through over the last 72 hours regarding Gold Star families, regarding what he said about the devil's deal with Hillary Clinton, misspeaking on Putin and Ukraine, Warren Buffett challenging him now to release his tax returns, new photographs of his wife that have been donning the New York newspapers. How much damage has occurred, in your opinion?
Well, I think the last 72 hours have been very, very bad for the Donald Trump campaign, for sure. It's going to more firmly entrench those that have said, I support the party, but maybe not the candidate than ever before. Not many people are looking to be apologists for those things anymore. In Utah, really what people really come down to is I support the party, even though I really don't want to be put in the position of defending the candidate himself or herself.
Jason, thanks so much for spending this time. I hope you get to your meeting on time.
Oh, always. It's so great talking with you.
Thank you. Jason Perry, who is, of course, the director of the Hinckley Institute of Politics. Just a little take on, will Utah have the potential of being a swing state? I guess we have that potential, but is it likely? And then also just the last 72 hours. And, Donald Trump's right. I've seen him up close and personal. I was sitting in the convention hall when he gave his speech. I have been at several of his rallies, including one in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and he's right. He could walk out onto Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and he wouldn't lose votes. I've never seen anything like it, ever. When we come back, I want to open the phone lines and just get your thoughts. And boy, the texts, Doug, you just need to do the research on Mr. Khan. He's in the pocket of the Clinton Foundation, blah. I don't care. I don't care. For somebody who, and whether he is or not, is, I'm getting all the conspiracy theorists. And boy, you can support any absurd thing that you want to believe by just seeking things out on the internet and putting blinders on. You can validate any hairball idea you want, is the bottom line. But when it comes to a Gold Star family, when it comes to a family that has sacrificed the life of a child, that their son gave his life for this great nation, there are ways somebody who is worthy of being president of the United States would respond to that. And it's not the way Donald Trump responded to it. There are 1,000 good ways you could have responded to that. And there are very few bad ways. But Donald Trump managed to find that. To say, while I disagree with what Mr. Khan said, I so appreciate that family's sacrifice for our country. And I wish them the best and offer my condolences for the loss of Captain Khan, their son, who served this country. Oh, no, we didn't hear anything even remotely close to that from the person who wants to be the next commander-in-chief of this great nation.